phone call, a really, really good follow-up email, and really focus on this today because I dropped the ball. So it happens.
It happens. All right, so today we're going to be talking about comparative market analysis. So, you know, whether you're working with a buyer or seller, you need to know how to pull up comparable properties. If you're working with a buyer, the first thing that they're going to say to you is, so what do you think about the price, Laura? You know, and you're going to have to come up with an educated answer. And that really is just data driven, period, the end. The same with a seller. It is data driven. You are going to be asked when you list a property, most likely, to one of the major obstacles that I come across almost every single time is they want to list their property too high. Yep. And you separate the reasons why they want to do it versus the data that would or would not support that price. So they may have a reason for a higher price, but you're there to show them the data of really what has sold in the past 6 months, if you can. You may have to pull it out to a year, but then also what is currently on the market and what is currently under contract. And don't be afraid to call that listing agent that has something under contract that is a good comparable for you, and call them and say, hey, listen, I know that your listing was on the market for a week. Did you have multiple offers? Can you tell me, you know, what your activity was like? You know, see if you can get as much out of them. And that is really helpful. Because there's a few that will, you think, oh my gosh, that price is a little high. And they may say, you know what, we had several showings, but we've had one offer, and you'll see it when it closes. So you can try to get a lot of information. I love to talk to the people that have current properties under contract. If you're going back and forth with a buyer or a seller and trying to figure out a price, don't be afraid to reach out to these agents. I would say 50% of them may call you back. They're busy or whatever, but it doesn't hurt. But I always look at 6 months, what's going on now, what is under contract, what is on the market, period, the end. And look at the pictures and bring your laptop if you need to. I was working on a listing yesterday and they said, we want this price. And I said, okay, here is all the data from everything that is sold and what is currently on the market. You're $25,000 too high. So, you know, apples to apples, we want you to be the shiny penny. Show me how that's going to work. Uh-huh. I put it back in their lap and kind of let them drive it a little bit. And then we negotiate, because the worst thing you can do is take something out on the market too high because that's what the seller wants. They forget. They'll think it was your idea. They quickly forget. And then you have to have that conversation about dropping the price. And when there's one price reduction, there's usually two more behind it. And you don't want that. There goes your marketing tool to get an offer quickly and having other competitive offers behind it. So that being said, let's take a look at the properties that Connie has put up.
What I did is I chose 2 properties. Both of them are not on the market. So I pulled one in Whitefish Bay and I pulled one out here. Both of them have sold a long time ago, but this gives you guys the opportunity to go through and find, you know, some different properties and see how we're going to price them and why we're going to price them and some of the different resources to do. So number one, I know Zillow is a pain in all of our butts, but the first thing you really want to do is check Zillow, because when you walk in that house, the seller is going to say, I checked Zillow, I know exactly what my house is worth. So you have to know that number, otherwise you're going to look like you didn't do your research. And then we can support that number, or we can take it, boy, we could take it higher or we could take it lower depending on what we find. But 8 days to Sunday, they will check Zillow first before they put it on the market. So I'm going to pull up my screen, and we're going to go through a couple of things here. Why can I never find this? Okay. So we are going to first pull up, come on, get out of here. Here's our first property, 655 Ray Drive. And if everybody could work along with this, that would be great on their computer. So on your screen, you can take and show a small active speaker with video and kind of pull it off to the side so we can work around this. Because I find that as the adult learner, if you physically do it, it soaks in your brain a little bit more. Some people can follow directions, I cannot. I have to do things physically, and it's the adult learner in us. So 655 Ray Drive, always try and pull up an old listing if possible. Do not use the information on the old listing to put in MLS for your new listing. Don't use their measurements. Find out your information yourself, but this is a really good starting point. So we can see as you drop down, 655 Ray Drive, I would start way at the bottom, because way at the bottom, we can see that it closed June 15th of 1998. So this has not been on the market for 22 years. And 22 years ago, it sold for $255. And then we pop up back to the top. This first bar in here tells you that it's a single family, 3 bedrooms. It doesn't have the square foot in here, 2.5 baths, 2.7 garage spaces. There's an interesting one.
That's interesting.
And then what I do is I pull up the tax info. So on this, the third tab here, so on MLS, report history, tax info, pull up that tax info, and you can find out the name of the people. You can see where their taxes are. So their assessment right now is $372. So obviously their house is worth a lot more than when they bought it 22 years ago. When you're dealing with your tax bill, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time on this because you're going to use this for a lot of different things. On the upper right-hand corner, it tells you what county it's in and whether it's a village or a city or a town. So this is in the village of Heartland, and here's your tax key number. You need all of this when you're putting in an MLS when you do a listing. Coming all the way down to the bottom, most towns, villages have all the information on here. So you can see that this is 2642 square feet. On the tax bill, it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, a total of 8 rooms. It's a 2-story, built in 1992. It tells you that it has a full basement. So this tax information is really, really important to look at. So what we're going to do is we will be doing a search. Does everybody have assessor data? Okay, so assessor data, I know most people over here do. Do you use assessor data, Janine?
No.
Okay, so assessor data is something that you need to sign up for. It does cost you $1.20 for every report you run. But some municipalities do not enter their information on the tax record and wire data. So you have to go to assessordata.org, sign up underneath your MLS number, your ID number. Actually, I think it's your license number. I think it's your license number. It's been a while. But if you go on there, they actually give you the floor plan of the house also, which is really nice to see. So you can see how big the deck is, how big the garage is, and it's all on the assessor's report. It also tells you if they pulled any permits. So any permits that were pulled will be put on there for any additions or remodels, anything like that. So it's really good to have. So working through this, the next thing that I do is RPR, Realtor Property Resource. So coming in with Realtor Property Resource, and I'm just gonna pull this up real quick here. This should be on your favorites also. So it's NARRPR.com. This is something you have to sign up for also. It doesn't cost you anything, but it's NARRPR.com. You can look up residential and commercial properties on here. Once you're signed in, it will give you information about the schools. It gives you information on their mortgages. So when you go to someone's house and they have to have a certain number, it may be because they're over mortgaged. So you really want to have all this information in your hip pocket before you start. If you're going to do a correct CMA before you go to a listing appointment, it should take you about 2 hours. Okay, so I'm just going to park this in here. 655 Ray Drive in Heartland. So when we do the search, RPR is actually giving it a market price of $425,900. The average range is $370 to $481. Here's the aerial view of the house. It gives you your median listing price, the changes in your price. It's actually a great informative page to check everything out. See, now on RPR, it doesn't have any of the bedrooms and everything. So that's where you're going to check your tax records. Here's all your schools. So it's Arrowhead School, it's North Elementary and Swallow Elementary School. It shows the estimated home value. It gives you your exterior details, your location. Here's your schools again, the legal description, tax info, and the deed. And who owns the property, when it was purchased, and what they paid for it. So these are all good things to have, once again, in your hip pocket when you're going in for a listing appointment. Okay. So coming back into MLS, we're going to start our search, and I'm going to keep that page up. I like to work with a lot of pages open because then you can flip between everything. It's a little confusing. So I am going to do the full search. With the full search, we are going to keep it as a single family. I'm going to pull up active, delayed, pending, and sold. So if you hit your shift button and then right click, it'll highlight all of them. We're going to start with Waukesha County. We're going to pull in Heartland. And as you're going through this, in your upper right-hand corner, you have results. Right now, just in Waukesha with Heartland, we have 2,420 results. Then I usually come over to dates. And let's drop dates down to sold within 1 year. And it's set at a default for 1 year. If you'd like to change it to 6 months, you can always do that. Kicking back to Maine, then I hit up the bedrooms. We're on 3 bedrooms. And I'm watching my number here, so now I'm down to 54. If you can get it down to 20, that's usually a pretty good place to start. Bathrooms, I'm at 2.5. There we go, now I'm at 9. So because we're there already, I'm going to take a look at my results and see where we're at. So looking at our results, the big thing here is this is a big house. We're at 2642 on our square footage. Here's your square foot. This is what I take and I look at next. So if you go to the top, when you click this little box on the upper left, it checks every one. So I start with every one and I go by and I start taking them out. This one is 1,500 square feet. We're going to remove this one. 0 square feet. So what we can do, yeah, is tap on the MLS number here and bring it up. It doesn't look very big at all. And it's a ranch, so we're going to get rid of this one. I'm going to go back to list because it's just easier to see, to flip through. Here's 1,600 square foot. We'll remove that one. 1,900 square foot. We'll remove that. 2,378. We're close. We're going to take that out though. Here's one on Cardiff, which is 3,100. That's interesting because I know that these houses aren't that big in, yeah. So let's take care, okay. So we're 1,600 square feet. We look here in the middle. We're 1,600 square feet on the first floor, 1,400 finished below. So we're gonna take that one out. We have 410 Ray Drive. This is my old house, FYI. I built this. 410, 2,657. I think that includes the basement. Yep, because it's 2,100 square feet. But it's right across the street, so I'm going to keep it in just for fun because the neighbor's going to say, what did the house sell across the street for?
Hey, Connie.
Yeah.
How do you know that, how do we verify, hopefully, quickly, if it's above or below grade square footage that they're counting?
Okay, so what we can do here is I'm going to pull back up 540 Ray Drive. In the second box here, it says estimate total square foot is 2,657. That's total square foot. Above square foot and finished below. So above square foot is 2,107. So make sure to look on here. If it is not on here, pull up the tax info. And your tax info is usually above ground. So on your tax info here, it's building square feet of 2,107.
What if it's a walkout basement though?
If it's a walkout basement, it is not usually included in total square feet. And excuse me, above square feet. Above ground square foot. Okay. Back to list. Cardiff is 2,454, which is close. Hollyhock, let's take a look. Back to the report. 2,307, we're close here. So I basically have 3 comps. 3 solds that are pretty good comps for us. Hollyhock is actually, and out here, we have different subdivisions that are valued different. So I like to look at the taxes. So Hollyhock is 508, which is high, and their taxes are $7,000. So if I go back to 655 Ray Drive, check their taxes are $46.85. Okay, so Hollyhock is obviously a more expensive subdivision. So I think we're gonna get, oh boy. You know what, I'm gonna keep it in there, but we're gonna use it as not a direct comparison. And it'll actually offset a couple of the other ones. So what we're looking at here is between 410 and 508. So RPR is pretty darn close on where we want to be. Okay, so this is where I start. Of course, you're going to do more research because, like I said, Janine, I know you do yours a little bit different. What do you pull in on things?
So I pull in the bedrooms for sure. If it's a 3-bedroom, I am not going to compare it to a 4-bedroom, but I may pull some 4 bedrooms just to look at their square footage. Case in point, the house I'm listing over here, she mentioned, oh, how about this house over here that's in delayed, same square footage? And I said, yes, but that's an extra bedroom. Yeah. So, you know, it does warrant a little bit more of a price. So I pretty much do the same thing. I don't do RPR, but I think it's a great tool. But I pretty much do it exactly how you do it.
Okay. So I have another address in Whitefish Bay, because Whitefish Bay is, I think they're harder. Well, it's funny because I want to say that Whitefish Bay is harder, but out here we're harder depending on the property. I actually cheated and took an easy property, because out here, and we have some of our newer agents who are really into horses and farms and properties.
Sure.
And when you get into that kind of stuff, you really have to break it down. I've done a lot of times the house itself, and then taken the land separately and added the land to the house. If you're dealing with a farm, or even if you're dealing with, 5 to 9 acres versus a 1/3 acre lot, so breaking it down like that.
Right. I think it's true of what we're used to doing. You're not used to doing Whitefish Bay.
Yeah.
Or Shorewood or East
It's harder. Yeah, it's harder for me to bring things down because they're all exactly the same.
Yeah.
So we'll put this in, and we got down to 9 houses with our parameters. So I'm going to pull this one up from Whitefish Bay.
Yeah.
Sold a long time ago. And what I did is I just pulled it off a map. So I am going to, let me get this other screen up here. Go away. Okay. So 131 West Lakeview Avenue in Whitefish Bay. You know where this is, Janine?
Oh, yeah.
It hasn't sold for a really long time. You might want to knock on their door.
Oh, yeah. I know this one. Yeah.
I know you would. You know everything over there. Talk about somebody who knows their territory. You're like the neighborhood dog that knows everything that's going on around, right? Okay. So
tax information. I want to see that.
Okay. So you walk me through this one.
Yeah. So first thing, no, I don't know them. It's assessed at $292,900. And if we go further down on the taxes, let's see, 1,337 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It looks like
a note when I'm doing things, because I forget everything. So maybe you're doing things.
And go further down. Let me see. All right, so it was put into a trust in 2016.
So they're ready to die. You can take the listing, Janine.
Yeah, I'm going to hold on to that one. All right, so it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And then what I like to do is go up. Yeah, scroll down. And then I like to go to Google Maps. So press on Google Maps.
Up here?
Nope, right by the, yep. All right, so then I kind of take a look exactly where that is, just for shits and giggles. All right, so it looks like it's a corner lot, right? Yes. All right, so I like to know where it is on the street. Then I go right into my search.
Okay, so we're going to pull up a search.
And I'm going to do active and sold, delayed and pending, just like you do. Exactly. Milwaukee County, Whitefish Bay. and I am going to put list price. I'm going to do 285 to 350
Okay.
because I'm dealing with low
Because
square foot.
everything is so tight in Whitefish Bay, Janine has to put in a price, otherwise we're gonna have,
A cajillion.
yeah.
Yep. And sold price the same, 285 to 350. And the reason I'm doing that, you guys, is because of the square footage. It's 1,337 square feet. And then I'm going to do bedrooms. I'll do 3 to 3. And I'm going to leave the bathrooms off because I may want to look at some with just 1.5 bath or 1 bath just to compare. And dates, I'm going to do a year. And we'll probably have quite a few. I can tell you for sure.
So Janine took and brought her price in, which is a big one, and we're still at 39.
Yeah.
So everything in Whitefish Bay is, it's pretty much the exact same house all the way around.
Yeah,
Okay,
and that picture, from what I can tell, is it looks like it's a Cape Cod. So it's not, you know, I already know it's not your traditional brick colonial or a Mickelson. This looks to me like it's a Cape Cod. So I'm already looking at the style. I'm going to try to pull those types of homes.
Oh, there's a blue tile. There's a blue tile. Now, this is, I don't know if there's any updates, but being as it's in a trust, we're going to assume that this beautiful blue tile is still there.
Right. But you can put your house in a trust, you know, even at my old age of 55, we're putting our house in a trust just to protect our assets. So the first thing, of course, we're going to find out before we go through all of this, of course, is, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or, you know, hopefully if you're working with a buyer, you're going to look at the photos, but you're also going to find out what their list of improvements are and things to know. So if they told me we gutted all the bathrooms, we opened up a wall and we have an open kitchen, okay, well, that's different than what we're looking at right now. But let's just say it's exactly like those photos. They haven't touched a thing. It's dated. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,337 square feet. So then let's go in and take a look at what properties we have to compare it to.
Okay, what were their taxes here real quick?
Yeah, and Whitefish Bay is a little different because they're catching up, but some of these taxes have absolutely no rhyme or reason. But what I can tell you is that these taxes will be going up more than likely when it sells. All right, so let's look at what we've got. We have 39 results. Let's look at these results. So exciting. I love this part.
Yep.
So I'm going to scroll down right away to the solds, and I'm going to look at what's under contract later, because really what I'm looking for is so I'm going to look at the style of the house, and already I'm looking at 5442 North Bay Ridge.
Okay, so get rid of Hampton.
Not yet.
Okay.
But let's just let's just look at that. So this one actually has 1,398 square feet, you guys, if you look at above grade. So be very careful and note that you have to look at above grade square footage. So here we go. This one is about the same square footage. It has 2 full baths. It's a great comparable. It's south of Silver Spring versus north of Silver Spring, but that's okay. Now let's go through the photos. Let's read it. It says, charming Cape Cod. Yep.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's all right. And let's see, freshly painted. Retreat upstairs to the master suite for ultimate privacy, walk-in master closet, whirlpool tub. Lower level has a finished family room and a private office area, darling front porch, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we already know they have a finished lower level with an office, but let's now in a master suite. So let's take a look at these photos.
Hey, Adriana, can you hit mute? We're getting some feedback from you.
All right, so great curb appeal. Absolutely. I remember this house. And adorable. I mean, hardwood floors like the other one.
Updated kitchen.
Yep, kind of, sort of. Updated bathrooms. I mean, there's some updating. There's that master suite.
Great master suite. Wow.
Nice bathroom.
Woo. That's a big closet for a Cape Cod and Whitefish Bay.
Yeah, it is. So there's a lower unit because you can see that's a, if you go back one, see where you can really look and you can tell this is the basement by just the windows up there. So really watch these photos. There's the office they were talking about.
In the basement.
Yep. Hardwood floors, kitchen, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So to me, this is a very good comparable. What do you guys think? Same.
Yeah, definitely. Connie, I have a question though. If somebody has an egress window in the basement to count a bedroom down there, it doesn't really count then in doing a comparable because you're only counting above grade?
For me, I am going to look at the square footage that bedroom has and say, okay, first of all, I count it, but then I'm going to put it aside and say, this is down in the basement. This square footage is down in the basement, whether it's a walkout, egress window, whatever, it's in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right?
Yes, and that's always one of those up in the air questions.
Yeah.
Is if a bedroom is in the basement, is it a bedroom? It is a bedroom if it has an egress window because you need 2 escape routes, a closet, and heat. So yes, it's a bedroom, but so for selling purposes, it's a bedroom, but for your tax purposes, it's not a bedroom. Isn't that weird? And the same thing with the bathroom. Like our house, we have a full bathroom in the basement, and we just had our house reassessed because we refinanced it. When I got the report back, I'm like, wait, we have 3 bathrooms. Yes, but one's in the basement. So they counted it, but they didn't count it in the bedroom and bath count.
Yeah.
It's just the oddest thing because, it's a full shower, it's a 3-piece bathroom, but whatever.
It is not going to appraise for the same value as above grade. So there you have it. All right. So this one, I feel like.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah.
For me, the thing that sticks out about the Lakeview house is that it's literally right across the street from Bayshore Mall. So wouldn't that make the Bay Ridge home a lot more desirable from a neighborhood standpoint?
Well, we're not there yet. Yeah, we're still going down the pike here. So let's keep scrolling down. And let's see if we can find another. So let's look at this one on Lydell, because that's going to be a nice comparable as far as location on number 11. This looks like a bungalow. This is 1.5 baths. Square footage is above grade.
$13.99.
Yep. So again, same. But it has 1.5 baths. So it's a bungalow farmhouse. I would hold on to that one. So you see where this is going? I mean, we're looking, already in my mind, I'm thinking we'll probably list at anywhere from $299 to $3,099. I've already got that in my mind. I'm going to push price on this one because the inventory is so low, and 3-bedroom, 2 full baths are attractive. Let's look at 5426 North Bay Ridge. Just look at that one. So that one has 1,500 square feet, 2.5 bathrooms. Hold on to that one. Just click that. Probably use that. Keep scrolling. Let's look at wood roof. I'm sorry. Up one. Yeah, that's a cutie. All right, so that's 1.5 bath, 1,300 square feet. Let's look at some of those photos.
Super cute. Tiny.
Yep, same, super cute.
Nice floors. Nice
Yeah.
crown molding, nice built-ins. It's the neat thing about the Whitefish Bay houses. They have all the built-ins that are so cute.
So not a really, I mean, semi-updated kitchen. Somebody will probably want to paint those cabinets.
It's a galley.
Yeah. Okay. So
Great backyard.
nice backyard. Some people may object to, all right, no, there's some grass. But it looks like it's a 1.5 car garage. Should we get that?
1.5 car garage, yep.
Yep. Okay. So this one has an extra, I mean, it has 2 full baths. It has a 2-car garage. So again, I want to push that price, you know, realistically, if I were to list this house right now, I'd say, let's keep it under 300. Let's do 290 to 299.
So do you want to keep Woodruff?
Yep.
Okay.
Because these are the ones I'm going to be showing. Let's keep scrolling down. Nothing. Hampton Road. That looks like a cute little cape. And let's look at that above square footage. It's 1,482, so it's a little bit bigger, but again, it has only 1.5 baths. Hampton Road is a busy street, so this could be a nice addition to our comparable. And let's look at those photos. Cute, cute, cute. So this one sold for $320. So I'm just looking at these nice, you know, updates. Again, that's leads me to believe the $299 price is going to be really good for this property. And I would really concentrate on this property because of where Lakeview is, with close to Lydell, which is another, you know, it's close to I-43. So I'd say, you know what, this is going to be our comparable minus what the updates that they have in this home. I would really lean heavily on that one. And then let's just zip up to what's currently on the market. 5123 North Bay Ridge. That's a 1-car garage. Has an offer. So let's just take a look at that. And has 2 full baths, a little more square footage, but 1-car garage.
Square footage.
Oh, 1190, sorry. Yeah, so under that. So what I would do too is I would call, let's see how many days, 29 days on the market.
So let's look at the history here.
Yeah.
And if you do this little plus drop down, it'll tell you when it turned contingent.
Yep. Oh, Lindsay Andrews.
That's Lindsay. So September 3rd, it went contingent. So it went,
And it began the 19th,
yep,
but was that in delayed?
it probably was.
Yep. So that's always good to
Adding
know.
things through the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how she was adding pictures on the 27th.
So it probably went pretty darn quick. So
Yeah.
I would probably call Lindsay and say, hey, Lindsay, yep. How many offers did you get on Bay Ridge? That kind of thing. And then I would let's look at 5233 North Shoreland. All right, so that's 1,300 square feet, 339, 1.5 baths, 2.5 car garage. Let's look at this because I can pretty much bet it's going to be, yep, this is a cutie. I remember this one.
This is just like it.
It's almost like, you know.
Little bit of updating. Shows well.
Picture is the original.
Finished basement. Yep. Nice yard. Again, that's a nice one because, you know, if it were updated, you might be able to push price. And then I would show them the Shoreland because that's a new listing. Because these are the people that are looking, they're going to be looking at these. This one's just went on the market. Great location. So I would probably show them, I would print out everything that is on the market between 295 and 350 that are 3 bedrooms, and to say this is your competition, and of those, you know, 7 that are on the market, 4 are under contract, so now we're down to 3. And I would suggest you keep the price under 300,000, anywhere from 289 to 299. I like to give a range, and then when I give them that price, I will then say to them, what were you thinking? I never ask beforehand of, so what were you thinking of listing your house for? Because then you automatically, they're going to think, well, I am having you over here to tell me. So we never ask them that question directly. Sometimes during some probing questions before you get there, that's why I like to ask a lot of questions before I go on a listing appointment. I may be able to get that information out of them, you know, and then we will know right away if they are realistic or unrealistic. And if they're unrealistic, then it's more of a data-driven conversation. And if they are already on board with the price, then I kind of put the data aside and I continue on to get them to sign a listing. So if they're on board with you on price, don't keep going down through your comparables. Just watch your audience. If they're agreeing to you on price, then put this stuff away. Put it away. And don't spend any more than 10 minutes max on going over these properties. What I like to do is when I'm doing an analysis, I pull the data sheet for all the properties that I'm going to use in my presentation. So every single one of them, and I'll have a property history behind it. And I'll let them know that, you know, it was on the market for 60 days. It expired, they went back out. I mean, how many times has it been listed? So I have all of that data, and I will have comments written on all of these data sheets. I'll have mine and I'll have theirs. So when I'm handing them over the data sheet, I am talking about that house and I have notes on my side. So, yep, this one was updated, da 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 da. So I am in control of the conversation and I know what these homes look like. So that just, Connie's right, it takes 2 hours. It takes a good 2 hours. And if they come back and say, well, let's say you gave them a price of $350 and that might be even a little bit aggressive. And they'll say, well, we want to go out, Alex, at $375. You know, it's a seller's market right now. So we'd like to try it at $375. And Alex, you know that that's $25,000 too high to go out at. What is your response?
I would say you're going to tick off buyers. You're going to run the risk of having a price reduction, which always looks bad in a market. I don't know.
Right.
That's what comes to mind.
Yep. So what I say is, you know what makes me nervous about that, Alex? That, you know, going over 25,000 of what the past has been showing us is that people are going to wait for a price drop because they're working with buyer's agents and they clearly see the data that we're seeing and they're going to wait for your price to drop. So let's not be on the market. Let's be in the market to get your house sold faster and for a higher price. So I suggest we go by the data, price it aggressively in the hopes that we get more than one offer. If we start too high, everyone's going to wait. And you're going to lose your opportunity for a great offer, hopefully multiple offers. So let's again go back to the data and I suggest we price it right. I don't want to come back to you in a week and say, you know what, Alex, it's time for a price reduction. In this market, we don't have time for that. And, you know, just having that conversation is very helpful. And they will listen to you, hopefully.
Yep.
I have a handful of listings this past year I walked away from. And because they want, first of all, I knew that they were very high maintenance. They wanted too much money for their house. And honestly, like I said, I didn't say this directly, but I'd rather be their second wife. Let that first agent go and hang that sign up and let it flap in the air. And then they're going to get frustrated and they're going to come back. Some do, and say, you know what? It didn't work out with the first agent. But the first agent didn't have the nerve to tell them that they were too high. So yeah, motivation is super important when you are working with a buyer or seller. If they're just kicking tires and they want to see find out what their plan is and what their why is, and keep going back to that. You know,
It'd be kind of easy to look at all these, the assessed ones in that area and just show them, you're going to price it this high. Even the assessment is going to.
Yes.
Do you mention that to them about the assessment's going to not run right out of the market?
So Nick had asked about showing the assessment prices to the sellers. And if that would be, basically knocking them off their stool because their assessment is not relative.
Again, I don't go by the assessed values. I can tell you on a particular listing appointment I went on, she was $100 and some thousand over assessed. And I literally said to her, this is what I recommend. You go to your village and you fight them on your assessment because you are being overtaxed. You are not going to get this for your home.
Well, and depending on the municipality, depends on when they did their reassessment. Some assessments, when I see them, like, oh my gosh, that house is worth way more than that. And, you know, some on the other side are assessed way too high, because when they do assessments, like last year they did Oconomowoc, they went across the board and just jacked everybody. Now, some needed to be increased, but others, you know, there are some small, older houses that they should have never gotten the reassessment that they got. So I look at assessments and I keep it in the back of my head, but I don't keep that as true to form. One thing that I do look at is, you know, the tax records and see if it's in the same municipality. I do look at the taxes to see what's compared to. So the one on West Lakeview, their taxes were $5,700. Most likely, to compare them to a house that's taxed at $7,000, there's something going on either with the neighborhood or that it's probably not a direct comparable. And then when you break it down to square foot and what have you, another thing to keep in mind, and this is the reason why I wanted to grab a house from Heartland and a house from Whitefish Bay. So in Whitefish Bay, our square footage is 1337 and the taxes were 5,700. In Heartland, our square footage is 2642 and the taxes were 4685.
Welcome to Milwaukee County.
Yep. So you need to know your city, your town, your village, your municipalities. You have to know what you're dealing with and where, especially when you deal with taxes. I mean, we have double the house out here, literally double the house, and $1,000 less in taxes.
Yep.
So, and I never knew this until I started, when I first started, I went to Whitefish Bay for all of my trainings because we didn't have the office out here. And when Janine's pulling up these properties, I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? These taxes, it still floors me, you know, double the house and $1,000 less in taxes. So you really need to know. And when you're working with people, if they have a limit on what their payment can be, when you're working with buyers, make sure you filter in those taxes, because if you have somebody who's looking in Wauwatosa and somebody who's looking in Brookfield, which is very, very common because they're right across the border from each other, the taxes in Wauwatosa may take and put them over their budget versus Brookfield, or even Wauwatosa and West Dallas. I have a lot of people looking in both right now because West Dallas is really up and coming and looking at their taxes versus Wauwatosa. And they're, you know, one street apart, and $100,000 for the same house. So looking at different options on where your payments are for your people and where their budget lies.
Yep, absolutely.
I have a question for both of you. So when you're going through these, looking at comps, and you see like two baths versus 1.5, or 2 versus 2.5, and garages that are 1.5 versus 2 car, is there a rule of thumb or some kind of mental math in your head from experience that you add or subtract to the price?
I
I'm
don't.
looking for a chart and I haven't found one yet.
I don't, but I do know that, let's face it, 2 full bathrooms are a lot more attractive than 1.5. But where is that second full bath?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure that that second full bathroom is not in the basement. If it is, I don't give it as much power as if it were on the first floor and second floor. So it's like, it's in the basement. So some people are like, yuck. I mean, not where you are, Connie, but I'm talking about basements here on the east side, not your beautiful basement, all that. It's just, you know, that second full bath on this side of town may not be as attractive as, you know, having it on the first or second floor.
I agree. And depending on, you know, if there's a bedroom in the basement, so with an egress window, if there's maybe a guest suite, then that bathroom has, as Janine said, a little bit more power because there's a correlated bedroom with that full bath.
Mm-hmm.
But in your head, you go like, oh, half a car garage, more 2 car garage, that's $50,000 more, or something like that.
No, because no. Again, I show them that, okay, you have a 1.5 car garage and you are wanting 350, but the 2 car garage that is so comparable to your house in every other way, it sold for 325.
Mm-hmm.
Just closed last week. So what is more attractive to you and any other buyer is going to be that 2 car garage. So it is most likely going to sell for more. You know, you can't compare a 1 car garage to a 2 car garage. You just can't.
So for dollars, you take the total price. For comparisons, you can compare amenities, but you don't really break it down to the.
Yep. I kind of have a price range and they'll say, look what sold in your price range. This is the most comparable property to yours.
Mm-hmm.
This one has a 2 car garage versus your 1.5 garage. But by looking at the photos, it didn't have a finished basement. It wasn't updated. So you kind of have to really, that's why it's going to take 2 hours. Look at all the data and show it to them. So,
And if the house sold down the street, they will know about it. So when I'm done with all of this,
yeah,
pull the neighborhood and just have that on the bottom of my folder, just a list of every house in the neighborhood that sold in last year, because they're going to say, well, my house compares to the Jones house. And then we'll pull up the Jones house. Well, the Jones house had an extra bedroom and an extra bathroom, so it really doesn't. So make sure you have your facts, because they'll know, especially if they've been thinking about selling, they'll know everything in the neighborhood that sold. And you really want to be knowledgeable. You want to have your facts. You don't want somebody to bury you when you go on a listing appointment.
Yeah.
And the same thing when you're working with buyers. Know what's going on in the neighborhood and know what houses are selling for, because they'll see the pictures come up of this beautiful house that has everything they want. And because the market is crazy, somebody will list it for $25,000 more. We need to know that that's probably not going to appraise out and where we should be for a price. And I've even called the agent and said, you know, I see this house has been on the market for 2 weeks and you don't have an accepted offer. Can you supply me with some comparables? I've done that also. And they say, well, you know, the seller wants this. And I'll say, well, you know, are they accepting reasonable offers? Because I'm not finding the value in this house. And usually they'll say, yeah, I know, it's the seller. So, you know, having those conversations, and we say it all the time, having the conversations with the other agents is super, super important.
Right. So look at comparable properties as far as bedrooms, maybe your bathrooms, location, and then honestly go through the descriptions of those properties, look at the photos, print out the data sheets, write notes, and figure in your head a range of where this property may land that you're going to be looking at or writing an offer at. And make some phone calls to some other agents, especially on the listing side, about how quickly their property went under contract, how many offers they got, that kind of thing.
So I wanted to bring up one occurrence which actually happened with me and my husband when we bought our first house. We had no comps. We had 0. Our house is on Milwaukee River, so it was really unique. And there weren't any other houses on the river with like a river view. And then all the other houses in the area were significantly lower in price because they didn't have a view. The other complication was one of the bedrooms that was listed as a bedroom in our house didn't have a closet.
It's not a bedroom.
But it's always been listed as a 2-bedroom and it's 100 years old. So we kind of had to count it as such, but we made an offer significantly under his list price because it showed as a 1-bedroom. But we also wrote a letter to the owner and explained why. Like, we're not trying to underbid you We're not trying to say your property is not worth what you want, but we don't have a comp, and it's a 1-bedroom. So we just explained everything so that we didn't offend him, because
Yeah.
I could see that being offensive. And we also complimented, all the work that he's done in the house, the upkeep and, everything else. So he didn't reject it. He countered it. And luckily it appraised out at the end when we purchased the home. But that's just a very odd situation that, our realtor didn't really know what to do either. She's like, I've not seen any specific comps at all. But
Yeah, so that's interesting. Let's start with the basement or the bedroom not having a closet.
Yep.
I've run into.
We are adding one.
Yeah.
So no one can tell us that again.
Right. So we had this happen to us several years ago in Shorewood, where we considered it a bedroom, but it did not have a closet.
Yeah.
So the appraiser came in and comped out only 2 bedrooms.
Oh.
So it didn't appraise and the deal fell apart. So what we did is we went to Home Depot and got a armoire type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to be able to hang full-size hangers in them.
Okay.
Mounted it to the wall. It went under contract right away. And the appraiser came in. He went, yeah, 3 bedrooms, has a closet. That armoire was $98.
Yeah.
And guess what? I've done that 3 times since.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So that's all you need. So this is a good one. When you are looking at a property and you just don't understand the price whatsoever, like where did they come up with that?
Yeah.
You call that listing agent and just say, I have buyers that, are interested in the property. Can you please email me your comparables that, back up the list price that you have? Because for some reason I'm having a hard time finding them.
Yeah.
Now,
And quite honestly, the listing agent probably had the same issue that our realtor was having, and I was having, just, doing a search. It just, even when they listed it, they didn't have any comps to list it against.
Yeah, so that's a unicorn.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will say, I want to list my house at this price because I just had an appraisal done. Oh, you had an appraisal done? Yes. For refinancing. Well, let me tell you, that can be a scary thing, because banks, of course, are going to want to lend you that money. So they're going to find comparables, most likely, to support your refinancing price. And I've seen these appraisals come back, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Can I share?
Please, because just be careful of that, you guys. It doesn't mean that's what market value is going to be on that house.
So we just refinanced our house 6 weeks ago. Got back our appraisal. It was a little low. I mean, it could have been $25,000 higher. We just purchased a investment property, so we refinanced again 6 weeks later. Do you know what our appraisal came back at? $100,000 more.
What?
In 6 weeks. 2 different appraisers. $100,000 more on a cash out refinance.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how did that happen?
I know, isn't it? So there you have it.
6 weeks.
There you have it.
Maybe the thing to point out is that appraisals are extremely subjective, so they can't always be relied on for listing price.
Especially when you are refinancing. Absolutely. Yeah. They're not the same type of appraisal that will be when you're purchasing a new property versus refinancing.
Yep.
Yep. So when I hear, oh, we just had our house appraised, awesome. Let's talk about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was beside myself. I'm like, put it on the market. Let's go.
Yeah. We're out of here.
We're out of here. There's only one problem. There's nothing else I would buy. There's nothing on the market.
Yeah. Yeah. So listers are, looking at this market and they're just saying, this is so hot, we can just throw a number out there and it's going to sell. And that is an absolute no. That is not true.
Mm-hmm.
People, customers and clients are working with buyers agents, and they are going to be pulling data to support that price. So we have to keep that in mind. And as a buyer's agent, when you're pulling comparables and you're not seeing it, sometimes you're not, because the market determines the price. So if there's going to be 10 offers on a property and you still don't see the price, you're going to have a discussion with your buyers that this seems extremely aggressive. However, the market is absolutely crazy right now. It is a seller's market. What we need to be mindful of is, what if, Mary and John, you have to sell your home in 2 years? I don't know what that's going to look like.
Well, and have a discussion with them that, especially when there are multiple offers. And I have one I'm doing right now. I have an accepted offer. And in order to get the property, we took out the appraisal contingency because we went so much over asking. And I had a heart-to-heart with the buyers. And I said, if this does not appraise out, we should be close. But if this does not appraise out, are you willing to bring that extra money to the table at close? Because they will only appraise up to, or they will only lend up to appraised value. Yep, we love this house, we want it. Well, the appraisal came back even lower than it should have.
Oh, wow.
So, we had the discussion. I said, and I called the lender, I said, this is where we're at. And then I actually did supply some comps to the lender because their appraisal came back, it came back too low. It came back like $8,000 to $10,000 too low. It's because I said, you're going to have to bring a little extra to closing if this doesn't hit. But they were fine with it because they really wanted the house. We had lost out on 2 already. So, but
yeah,
we did have the discussion.
And if you have that conversation with your buyer, I always like to have that in an email that, hey, you guys, I'm going to email you about waiving the appraisal. And it's just to cover your ass. It's to cover your ass, basically. I just, for that reason alone, if it comes back, and now they probably could get out of it because of financing, but also like Scott from A+ Mortgage, who has been on this call before, if you have buyers that are working with him and you find a property and you're going to write an offer, you can call him and say, Scott, this is what we're thinking on writing on 123 Main Street. And he will literally put it into his system, and he'll know within a half hour whether or not you can write that offer and waive appraisal, which is absolutely amazing. There's been many, many people on our team that have gotten that accepted offer over anyone else because they waived the appraisal, and it was verified through Scott, and he'll email that to you. Yep, you can waive that appraisal. We're good. That's a real little heads up bonus. It helps. What other questions do you guys have?
Anybody else? Questions?
So what I would highly suggest is to know your market. If you are selling in one area, start studying anything that is sold in the last 6 months. Just go through solds and look at them by subdivision, by neighborhood. Look through the photos. Just keep looking at the market. Because when you are called on something to list or you're working with buyers, you're gonna have a pretty good idea before you go out and work with a buyer and you have 2 or 3 homes you're gonna look at. I always have comparables with me. I wanna have 2 or 3 in that neighborhood of every home I'm showing. What's active, what's sold, I like to have them with me. I wanna look at the photos before I go. because I know they're going to ask me. And I'll say, well, look at this. This one sold for $6, but it was carpet throughout. It wasn't even updated. So this one for, $695, actually they have a brand, then you can justify the price and show them, why. So I never go out without looking in MLS to see what's going on. Look at the history of a house before you go and show it. I always pull history. I pull the tax records. I pull all of the documents. I have it in a packet. I don't assume it's going to be at the house ever, because it probably won't, especially with COVID. At least over here, people aren't leaving a lot of paper around. Just be solidly prepared, and that's going to empower you when you're with your client. Right?
Yep. Any other questions? So everybody can comp everything now, right? Got it all down, Pat?
So if you still don't feel comfortable, pull a property out of MLS and you come up with what you would list that house for.
Yeah, value your neighbor's house, value your mom's house.
Value your own home.
Your
Yep.
own home, yeah. Just
Yep.
practice this, because the more you do it, actually the quicker you get.
So next week, we're going to talk about dollar producing activities. And we're going to lean in on the 4 dollar producing activities, which is lead generation, lead follow-up, the listing appointment, and negotiating the offers. The 4 things that's your job description right there. So we're going to dive into that. I would like to also at the very end do a mock buyer agency appointment, and I will also do a mock listing appointment. So, we can lead generate, and once we get that and we have the client, now what?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be very comfortable with your buyer appointment and your listing appointment. And I'm not going to go over comparables. I'm not going to go into that because we did that today, but it's more of, once you sit down with somebody, how are we going to get them to sign with you? And I'm going to give you a big hint. I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I listen a lot during the appointment. That is, and I have to remind myself, because I love to talk, I literally clamp down on my tongue and I listen to who is across the table from me. I let them speak. They want to tell you everything about their house more so. They want to show you everything they've done. And there are some agents that say, you two sit at the table and I'm going to take a look at your property. I don't like that, because I love to look with them. I can get a lot of information and ask a lot of questions during that time about what their motivation is. And you'll have to be careful about how much you ooh and ah over their home, because you may excite them in thinking that their house is worth more than what it is. So we're going to go through all of that, but what are our dollar producing activities? And we're going to go through every single one. What does lead generation look like to you? What are you doing to lead generate? What are you doing to prospect? What is your marketing? How are you following up? When do you follow up? What does that conversation look like? Is it a phone call? How are you doing it? And then when you go on a buyer or seller appointment, what does that look like? And then negotiating the offer. That we're going to just skim over, because honestly, number 4 is super important. You've gotten all the way down to the finish line and you've done everything you should. And now you've got this offer in front of you. and everyone situation is going to be different. How do you handle that? But that will be a class in itself. Don't you think, Connie?
Yes. Yep.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So, and this is obviously for next week, but I'm thinking about right now is, we talked about the buyer consultation and either at a coffee shop or somewhere in public. So how do you handle something like somebody calls you, they want their home, and now you're in their home and they're looking around and maybe they got a dungeon downstairs, I don't know. I mean, do you bring somebody with you, or like, I mean, everybody's busy. I don't, what's the protocol on that?
So I think what I heard you saying is you get to the home after you've done your research, and there is it's either better or worse than you thought, right?
No, I'm just talking about, safety level. Say, for example, do you just meet somebody right at home that they want to?
Oh, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Janine. I don't even know where this. I'm using a new computer. Can you hear me now?
I can't hear at all.
It's echoey.
I'm sorry. I'll just print it. I'll type it. Sorry.
That's all right. I'll wait for your chat. And that's the thing, and we'll see what her question is. That's why it's really important before you go to someone's house to get as much information as you possibly can. List of updates, things to know, compare it to what you saw on the last sold. Oh, safety issues meeting at listing appointment. Could you be more elaborate on that? Safety issues?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Safety issues. You've never met these people and you're going to their home. Absolutely. So we do not go on listing appointments alone. We always have someone in our office or on our team that goes with us. So there's never one, there's always two.
If you're going into an unfamiliar situation and you've never met the people before, bring somebody with you. And which, unfortunately, with the whole COVID thing, you haven't met each other, but
Yeah.
I've gone along with people on listing appointments. Take one of your coworkers, somebody in the office, and if it's your listing, you're going to do the talking, and the other person is there just even for emotional support, because you're just not quite used to doing it yet. And but take somebody along with you. I mean, strange things have happened, unfortunately, but take somebody with you.
Absolutely. That's why, at a buyer, if someone calls me off a sign, I do not go and run and meet them at that property.
Yeah.
No, never going to happen. A listing appointment, I'm going to have several conversations, and again, we do not go alone. I just went on a listing appointment with Ross Trefford on our team, completely 100% capable of going on a listing appointment on his own. And these were family friends. But it's also really nice to have someone else, another set of eyes, another set of ears. What do you think? It's helpful. It's great practice. Buddy up with somebody and say, do you mind coming with me on this appointment? Mind you, your job as a listing agent is to get as much information as you possibly can from that potential seller. So you're going to have a lot of conversations and find out what their motivation is. And if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right.
Yeah, I had, when I first started, I had somebody call on one of my listings. They wanted to see it, and they had a really strong accent, and I just couldn't make them out. And I was new, I didn't know what to do, and everybody in the office was busy. I'm like, oh, darn it. I had my dad come along just for an extra person, and my dad is super, super social. And of course I said to him, I said, okay, Dad, all I need you to do is come and stand at the door, kind of bodyguard us, just because somebody called, and and I can't really understand them. And I want somebody else there with me because I can't feel them out on the phone because of, of their accent. Well, we came in and my dad followed me around like a puppy dog. Like I turned around and bumped into him. I'm like, Dad, see it? And he starts talking with the people. And I mean, it ended up going very, very well. And they're really nice people. And he's an investor. And I've actually done a number of deals with him. So thank goodness. But, just to have another person there because I was nervous. I get a good feel off the phone. He's a great guy.
I never would show a vacant home alone.
Yeah.
I mean, all homes are vacant, basically. Their sellers aren't going to be there. But I also am, if I get a weird feeling, I will literally say, and I don't even care. I will stand by the front door. And if I just get a funny feeling, I'll say, why don't you go ahead and go through the house and we can talk about it outside. I mean, I had one incident. I just didn't feel right about it. I met an appraiser at a vacant home. And I just had this very weird feeling. I can't explain it. It was just, I didn't feel safe. And he had asked me to go down into the basement.
Really?
And I said, you know what? Actually, I'm not. I will be in my car. And, the key is in the door. Just put it in the lockbox and lock it. And I'll be in my car. So I got in my car and I pulled out of the driveway and I had it, running, obviously. I did not, and I called a teammate and said, this is what's going on. I do not feel safe. Yep. So if you feel something's weird, then it's weird. Be careful.
Yep.
Be careful. Yeah.
Always let somebody know where you're at.
Yes.
I was at an open house once, and when I got there, somebody was waiting, and he was kind of creepy. He was waiting out by the road, and so I got out to open the house, and I just got a bad feeling from him. Well, as soon as I opened the door, I said, if you want to walk around the outside, I said, I'm going to open up the house and turn on all the lights, and I texted my husband right away, and I said, call me ASAP. So he called, he's like, hey, what's up? I said, yeah. Yep, because of course then he was standing right next to me. And I just kept answering, yep. He says, what's going on? I said, I'm at the open house. He says, everything okay? I said, not sure. And, so then he said, well, what do you want me to do? And, it's hard to answer.
Yeah.
So anyways, what I ended up doing is leaving him on the phone and just setting my phone on the counter. Just in case of, I don't know, I screamed he could hear me.
Yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, he knew where I was, but I left it on until he left. And then I had the conversation. I said, thanks for staying on the phone. He's like, well, of course. I said, he just creeped me out a little bit, but the same thing, when he went in the basement, I let him go. And I just stayed up in front by the front door. And then when he went in the basement, I said, hey, Mike, I got a creepy guy here. I said, just stay on until everything's done.
Yep.
So just cover your butt.
All right, guys, I've got to run. Dollar producing activities next week, lead generation, lead follow-up, the appointment, listing or buyer's appointment, and then negotiating the offer.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Have a nice week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.